Hey guys, it's Max. We just got in the brand new Apple Watch Series 7 and today we will compare it to the Series 4, the Series 5, and the Series 6 and show you guys every single difference and then answer the main question, and that is if it's worth upgrading. So let's go ahead and get this unboxed. Now, just so you guys know, I actually did not upgrade to the Series 6. I didn't think it was worth it, so I'm very curious if it's gonna be worth upgrading this year. And I did end up getting the new green color. I think that's probably the most significant new one. Before I get out of the box, I do want to mention the charger. This time, for the first time, we are actually getting a USB Type-C charger. And you are going to need to use this charger with USB-C and at least a 5-watt brick if you want the new faster charging. And now let's get this new watch out of here. We'll check out the new green color. And it's crazy that in this lighting, this green almost looks like a graphite or a black. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing through the camera, but it's a very dark green. I'm gonna get the setup process going, and then we're gonna compare the case differences because holding it in the hand didn't seem to be that different. While the 7 is syncing, let's compare all the exterior differences. Let's start out with the sensors. Series 5 and 4 are identical, and if we flip around Series 7 and Series 6, you guys can see that they are both identical. Apple has not changed anything with these bottom sensors. The big change actually came in from the Series 5 to the Series 6. That is because we got the blood oxygen monitoring sensors built in, as you guys can see. Now the Series 6, 5, and 4 all have identical cases. So let's go ahead and move these off to the side and we will compare all of the differences that we finally have with an updated case on the Series 7. Starting off with the crown side, the layout looks identical. The crown doesn't look different at all. Our microphone hole looks identical. The button looks identical. And flipping over to the opposite side, we notice our first change, and that is the speaker grill. Instead of two separate ones, we have a single speaker grill that is slightly shorter than before. Now the next difference is actually facing me right now. It's very hard to see, and that is the diagnostic port that is built in for a physical connection, hidden where your strap goes in. And with the Series 7, that is now completely gone. Apple is now using a 60 gigahertz wireless data transfer technology in order to diagnose Apple Watches, and that's likely what they're gonna do with future wireless MagSafe data transfer when the iPhone goes portless. As for the rest of the differences, you guys could see now that I stacked them next to each other that the Series 7 is actually taller. So Apple did have to get new molds to create this new Apple Watch. Now Apple mentioned that the Series 7 is actually the most curved Apple Watch, but looking at them, it is really hard to notice the difference. But one thing that I do notice is that the glass actually is larger on the top and there's less frame visible for that larger display. And now let's compare the display and the rest of the differences. I have all 4 on my arm. This is not very comfortable. I don't think I've ever done this, but the good thing is we're not gonna keep the Series 4 on here for long, and that is because it is almost identical to the Series 5. The biggest difference is the fact that it does not have the always-on display. As you guys could tell, the screen turns off completely compared to the rest of the lineup that keeps the display on. Now with that, the Series 5, 6, and 7 also have a compass built in, which the Series 4 doesn't, and they all have 32 gigabytes of storage, which the Series 4 doesn't. Other than that, the 5 is identical to the 4, so I can remove this, get my arm a little bit more comfortable now, so it's not gonna be cutting off all my circulation, and let's keep going on with our comparison. Now before we go over the other hardware differences, what I want to cover are the displays. Now last year, as I mentioned, I did not upgrade from the 5 to the 6 because Apple's claim of having a brighter always-on display, which was my biggest complaint about the 5, wasn't really that huge, at least indoors. But this year, they said that the 7 is 70% brighter indoors, and you guys let me know, what do you think? What are you guys seeing right now? Like, to me personally, I see that the 6 is just slightly brighter than the 5, not enough to make a difference. But the 7 is noticeably brighter than both the 6 and the 5. Now I'm also gonna test the brightness outdoors or when it's really bright, and that's where the 6 changed more so from the 5. So I'm opening up my flashlight right here, which is gonna simulate brighter lighting. And what do you guys see? Right now, I definitely see that the 6 is brighter than the 5. We have a bigger difference now. But the 7 and the 6 look identical as far as brightness. So outdoors, the always on display, there will be no difference from the 6. but a fairly decent one from the 5. Now, as far as when the screens are on, we have no differences. They're all 1000 nit maximum brightness, and that is the same case for the Series 4, the SE, and even the Series 3. When you're looking at your watch, when the screen is active, they are all identical. Now, there are 6 changes with the new Series 7 over the Series 6, but before I tell you guys those, let's cover what changed from the 5 to the 6. That way I can get this off my wrist and we can compare the newest ones. In my opinion, the biggest difference is the blood oxygen sensor. So that's built into the Series 6. And of course, the Series 7 also gets that, and the 5 does not have that. So if you're somebody that struggles with that, or you have allergies or other reasons to test it out, this could be a massive difference. The next hardware change is the always-on altimeter. So it's working in the background, giving you better accuracy for times when you're hiking or doing other activities when you have a change in elevation. So you do not get that with the Series 5, but you do with the 6 and 7. The Series 5 also doesn't support 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. So when you're doing updates, transfers, it is slower with the 2.4 gigahertz, and it also has a slower S5 chip. The Series 6 is 20% faster for the processor than the Series 5, but the Series 7 actually pretty much just has a renamed S6 chip with a couple tweaks for the display. So the processor in the 7 is the same, and the Series 5 is a little bit slower, but personally, using the 5, I have had no complaints in terms of performance. And the last hardware difference between the 5 and the 6, as well as the 7, is the ultra wideband U1 chip, which allows you to be able to find other items or other items to be able to accurately connect to the watch. Now that could be used for finding, say, your Apple tags and for guidance, but for some reason Apple has not yet enabled that in the Series 6 or the Series 7. So that could be something that in the future would matter. But for now, with the Find My app, you don't get that guidance yet. That U1 chip is not activated. And then maybe in the future you can unlock your car, or maybe if you have a smart lock at your house. But for now, that U1 chip isn't being used. And with that, there are a ton of similarities between the Series 5 and the 6, and of course with that, the Series 7. They all have ECG testing, second generation heart rate sensors, compass and accelerometers, fall detection, 50 meters of water resistance, 32 gigs of storage, updated speakers and microphones, the noise sensing app, the W3 chip, and Bluetooth 5.0. So all those features apply to the 6 and the 7, so I can take the Series 5 off. And now let's actually talk about the 6 changes with the Series 7. Now we somewhat covered the first 2 differences, and that is the new charger that uses USB Type-C for one, and the second one is the 33% faster charging, and that is thanks to that USB-C connection and better coils that are built into the watch. Now Apple says 8 minutes of charging is enough to go through an 8 hours of sleep tracking, so that is really nice for that specific scenario. Number 3 is the 50% thicker glass, which led Apple to say that this is the most durable Apple Watch ever made. And with that, we have number 4, which is the new IP6X dust resistance rating that comes with that durability. Now, Apple has actually never given a dust rating for the Apple Watch, so this year they paid for that certification. So we're not entirely sure if that dust resistance is just because of the new display or just because they finally tested it. Now, number 5 and 6 are much more significant, and that's what I care about. Most likely you do as well. Number 5 is the new QWERTY keyboard. So with all past Apple Watches, Series 6, 5, 4, and previous, if you want to write something out, you literally have to draw it on the screen, hope you do correctly. If you don't, sometimes it would just be off. And then it's just a really slow, painful process. So I would typically just use voice recognition, but in cases where it's very loud or it's very quiet and you don't want to be talking to your watch, you would have to rely on writing one character at a time. So that is very slow. Now we have the full QWERTY keyboard. You can actually swipe between the letters and it will use prediction to give you accurate results. So I can actually write out a sentence like this fairly quickly. Now, as I was doing this, you guys can see that I made some mistakes and it will actually learn how you swipe and increase accuracy. but I will have to actually test this out and see, is this actually feasible for real world use? And am I actually gonna wanna use it, or just still try to rely on voice dictation? So we'll talk about that in our full review. And difference number 6 is the new display. And we're gonna go through this right now and see all of the differences and how much that actually matters, because Apple is really pushing this upgrade. Now right here with the Meridian watch face, you guys could see the difference in the bezel. The bezel is a lot slimmer. The Series 6 and 5 and 4, those are 44mm watches. This one right here is a 45mm, so it's not a huge difference, but Apple is using the curve of the display to refract the light and make some of that screen, which actually doesn't take up as much of the room because it's only laminated to the flat part, but it makes it kind of curve to the edge. Now this is most visible with the new contour watch face that is exclusive to the Series 7, where we have all of our numbers that are just kind of right there, curved towards the edge. And as I scroll through, you guys can see it highlights certain parts of them, and it still leaves a little bit of room for my silent mode right there at the top, as you guys could see. But with that said, looking at it, I do see that it's slightly curved if I'm looking from the side, but looking from the top, it doesn't look like that much of a difference. So let's go ahead and switch to a different watch face. Right here, you guys can see the new portrait watch face, which it'll take certain photos and actually put the time right behind it. So I have Vadim on here. It's actually pretty tricky to find one that works properly. The Series 6 also supports portrait. Here I just have a regular photo open, but you guys can see the difference in that bezel once again. And to my eyes, I expected a bigger difference in screen size judging off of their photos and images that they have on their website. Of course, they want to maximize that difference to get you to upgrade, but right now I'm not seeing that big of a difference. Now there is one more watch face that is exclusive to the new Series 7. So right here we see the modular duo. Below I have the portraits and world time, which does come to the Series 6. But let's go ahead and add this modular duo, which has a lot of info available. So here's how that modular duo looks. We have two large wide complications. So here I have Apple stocks open compared to just the regular module that is available for the Series 6 and the 5. Here we just get a little bit info. We don't get that nice graph if you're into stocks. Of course, you still have the modular available for the Series 7. And this is basically the difference that you get with that larger display. You see that everything's slightly larger, slightly closer to the corners of the screen, but in my opinion, the difference isn't that significant. Maybe you do really care about having it slightly larger, but it's not a reason that I personally would upgrade just for that larger display. And now to answer our main question, who should upgrade to the Series 7? And I think that if you have a Series 6, you definitely shouldn't upgrade. The differences are very minor, unless you really care about faster charging. Those are small differences. And even with the Series 5, the differences between the 5 and the 6 weren't that great. They were still bigger than the differences from the 6 to the 7, so I wouldn't update. Now, if you're somebody that has a Series 4 Apple Watch that doesn't have an always-on display and you're finally ready for that, or the other differences that were there, then maybe I would upgrade to the Series 7, but it's still not a huge difference. And then for those of you guys that have a Series 3 or an earlier one, at this point I would say yes, definitely upgrade. The differences are going to be vast, very noticeable. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. We have links to all these Apple Watches, the deals that come along now that the Series 7 is out. There's still old stock of the Series 6 and 5 that are discounted if you guys want to get those. So go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and click above to subscribe to help us reach our goal of 1 million subscribers. We would definitely appreciate it. Check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I will see you in the next video.